Hello and welcome to Locals Learn. Today we're going to be talking about some analog mixers. We're going to be looking at what an analog mixer's typical layout is, how to identify what all the different knobs do, and going through all the different functions on a typical channel strip. So without further ado, let's go take a look.
All right, so here we are looking at the mixer itself, and it's a bit of a sea of knobs, so it can look a little intimidating, but it's really simple when you break it down. So each row, separated by these gray lines and these faders at the bottom, they all have the same controls. So if you learn one of the rows, really you learn them all. So first, at the top here, this is the gain knob, and what that does is that decides the volume that's passed down to the rest of the controls down here. So if I have a signal coming into the top at the input, then this decides how much that signal is turned up or down before it's passed on to all the other controls. All right, so next we have these gray and white knobs, and this is the EQ section, which stands for equalization. So this is how we can change the tone of what's coming into the board. This top knob is labeled HF, which stands for high frequencies, and so if we were to turn it up, then we would increase the high end of whatever we're taking into the board. So for drums, that would be like the hi-hats and the cymbals. The next one is this white one, which is interconnected to this second gray one down here. Basically, this white one changes the range of frequencies that this gray one affects. So this gray one, we could turn it up to, let's say, +9 as labeled. Then this white one would change where that +9 is being applied. So this would, if it's all the way up, then this is kind of the higher mid-range, and if we take it all the way down, this is kind of the lower mid-range or the higher low range. And then the last one down here is LF, or low frequencies, and so this is if you really want to kind of add a bit of a bass boost to whatever you're taking into the board. The next knobs are these green and blue ones. Now, these affect the auxiliary outputs of the board. So the auxiliary outputs on this board are located up here. They're these ports up here. And what they essentially act as are secondary outputs. So quite commonly, you will have stage monitors, so speakers facing the band on stage. And these knobs is how you would choose what gets sent to those stage monitors. So if, let's say, channel 1 is vocals and channel 2 is guitar, then I could send equal amounts of both to, let's say, the drummer, but send none of the rest of the inputs to that channel. So these are quite useful for when you need to dial in a different mix of your inputs than what is going to the main output of the board. So the next knobs are these yellow ones, and these are just a pan. It's a stereo pan, so pan right and pan left. Pretty simple right there. And on this board, the next thing down is the mute switch, and so when the mute switch is on, it turns on this LED here, and it also acts as a peaking light. So if your signal's coming in too hot, this LED will light up. But also if the channel is muted, then that will light up as well. Next is this button, which is labeled PFL, or pre-fade listen. And what that does is that sends this channel to the headphone output right here. And next we have these two buttons here. This one is labeled master, this one's labeled 1, 2. What these do is this chooses where that audio is being routed to. So if the master one is on, then it will be sent to this master channel, and subsequently these master outputs at the very top here. if the 1-2 button is pressed, then it will send it to this group 1-2 area here, and subsequently to the group 1-2 outputs up here. And then just a couple of quick buttons that I skipped over earlier. On this board, this is going to be different on all boards, but on this board we have a couple buttons. These buttons are limiters, so they will limit the amount of volume coming into the board. These ones are high impedance toggles, which basically means if it's pressed in, then I can just plug an electric guitar directly into it and have no problems with recording that. And then the last two buttons are right below the gain knobs here. These are, the first one is a 100 Hertz roll off, and the second one is a USB return. The 100 Hertz roll off is really good for when you're recording microphones and you don't want to get some of the low end air noise that's on the microphone. And the USB return is for if I want to route audio from my computer to one of these specific channels. So next, let's take a closer look at some of the functions of it, and let's hear how they affect the sound. Alright, so this next part is a little bit difficult to show because I want to show the whole channel strip, but that means I have to have my camera out all the way so I'm seeing the whole board. So for this part, just pay attention to this channel here, this one labeled 7/8. The one right in the center, that's 7/8. Ignore all the other ones, just look at this channel here, this one, 7/8. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some audio into channel 7/8, and we'll have a little fiddle with some of the controls and see what we can do. So I have some audio going in. We got to turn the volume up first down here. And it's very quiet, so I'm going to turn up the gain. Okay, well now we can see that the light here is flashing, and that means that our audio is peaking, which we don't want, so we're going to back it down until we don't see the light flashing anymore. Now, peaking audio means that it's starting to distort, which is what you don't want. So next, we can have a little mess with the EQ here. So I'm going to start with this one. This is going to boost the high frequencies. So you can hear that that's boosted the hi-hats and the high frequencies, and we are now clipping again because what I just did is I boosted the volume in that area. So we can take it back down. Now we can listen to these mid-range ones. So this is boosting. I want to be careful because this really boosts a lot of volume. So I can boost this, and now I'm going to sweep it so you can listen to what it sounds like when I put it in different areas. Remember, that's what this white one does. So with that, you can make certain sounds more noticeable or less noticeable. So I could also, cut that down. All right. Now we can mess around with my favorite one, the bass. Yeah, it makes it real nice and thumpy. And again, you can see that we're clipping here once again because I'm boosting the volume in that area. And then this is the pan knob. It's not going to come through very well because of how I'm recording, but that's panned one way, and this is panned the other way. And that's back in the center. So that's the general run through I can show you on this board. Now, remember that these change the outputs to these outputs up here. So if I wanted the audio to come through on auxiliary 1, which is this port way up here, I would turn that green knob up. Alright, so that's kind of the basic run through of the soundboard. Now, many soundboards will have different layouts than this one, but I'm trying to keep this just as broad as I possibly can so that you can apply the knowledge you learned here with any other soundboard that you are working with.
Alright, so there you have it. A little bit shorter of an episode of Locals Learn, a bit more of a narrower topic than sometimes we have covered in the past, but this one I think is really useful. You know, as soon as I learned how to kind of navigate my way across a soundboard, I really was able to open up what I could do in the world of audio. You know, next thing you'll know, you'll have people asking you to run sound for them because hey, you know how to work some board that's been in the closet for 20 years. You know. So I really hope that you were able to learn something from this episode, and don't forget to follow us on social medias, KBVR TV, and as well as check out the other shows on our YouTube channel, Geeking Out About It, and our new one, Inside the Silver Screen, that has debuted just a couple days ago. So with that, we will see you next time.